New U.S. sanctions target yachts with Putin ties. Russia takes majority control of key Ukrainian city. Russian forces now control most of the eastern city of Severodonetsk, an important strategic target and the last Ukrainian holdout in the Luhansk region of the Donbas. Moscow has roundly criticized the Biden administration's new $700 million military aid package for Ukraine, which includes longer-range weapons. Meanwhile, oil prices have dipped on reports that Saudi Arabia may be willing to increase its crude production if Russia's supply is hit by EU sanctions. UN humanitarian chief to meet with Russian officials amid push to restart agricultural exports. The UN humanitarian chief was to meet with Russian officials as part of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres' efforts to enable Ukrainian and Russian agricultural exports through the Black Sea amid a global food crisis. UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric told reporters that Under-Secretary-General Martin Griffiths met officials Wednesday and will continue his meetings Thursday. Guterres said there was no resolution as of Wednesday, but the UN is engaged in serious dialogue with all relevant parties in order to find a package deal. Dujarric noted that Griffiths' visit to Moscow followed a Monday visit to the Russian capital by Rebecca Grandspan, the Secretary-General of the UN Conference on Trade and Development known as UNCTAD. Grandspan is focusing on getting Russian grains to global markets. She later went to Washington. We've seen a lot of positive statements coming from various capitals, Dujarric said. We also very much appreciate the role that Turkey is playing in all of this. If we have something concrete to announce, we will do so. Russia limits exports of noble gases, a key ingredient for making chips. Sanctions hit. Russia has limited exports of noble gases such as neon, a key ingredient for making chips, until the end of 2022 to strengthen its market position, its trade minister Stoltenberg calls Turkey an important ally ahead of key gathering on Sweden, Finland NATO bids. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg sought to underscore the alliance's appreciation of Turkey as an important ally. He offered the conciliatory words to Ankara ahead of a planned gathering of senior officials from Sweden, Finland and Turkey in Brussels next week to discuss Turkey's opposition to the Nordic countries joining the defense alliance. Stoltenberg made the comments to reporters after meeting with President Joe Biden and White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan at the White House for what was billed as preparatory talks for the Madrid NATO summit to be held. Stoltenberg said he discussed Sweden and Finland's application to join NATO with Biden and Sullivan and expressed confidence that the alliance would find a path to addressing Ankara's concerns. But Stoltenberg also seemed to go out of his way to note Turkey's value to the alliance. I think we need to also recognize that Turkey is an important ally. Turkey contributes to our security in many different ways, said Stoltenberg, who noted the country's Turkey's efforts at countering Islamic State militants. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has insisted Finland and Sweden must show more respect for Turkish sensitivities about terrorism since the countries filed their NATO applications. He is refusing to budge over what he says is their alleged support for Kurdish militants. U.S. Treasury targets yachts management companies tied to Putin. The U.S. Treasury Department announced a litany of sanctions against yachts and yacht management companies tied to Russian President Vladimir Putin and other Russian oligarchs for Moscow's continued assault on the Office of Foreign Assets Control said its latest actions also target Putin money manager, Sergei Roldygin. Specifically, Treasury blocked the use of two ships, the Russia-flagged Graceful and the Cayman Islands-flagged Olympia, saying Putin has used them for travel in the past. Imperial Yachts, a ship management company that caters to oligarchs whose wealth rises and falls based on the decisions made by Putin, is also subject to the department's sanctions. Turkish manufacturer donates drone for Ukraine after Lithuanian crowdfunding campaign. Lithuanian Deputy Defense Minister Vilius Semeska poses next to a TB2 advanced combat drone in Istanbul with Selçuk Bayraktar and Haluk Bayraktar, the Chief Technology Office and Chief Executive Officer, respectively, of Turkish company Baker and Turkey's defense industry agency will donate one of the combat drones for Lithuania to transfer to Ukraine after Lithuanians crowdfunded nearly €6 million to buy it. Sweden to send more weapons to Ukraine, including anti-ship, anti-tank missiles. Sweden's government announced a new batch of weapons and financial aid to be delivered to Ukraine, including anti-tank weapons, anti-ship missiles. The proposals that are submitted to Parliament mean that allocated funds for the central government budget will increase by 1 Swedish krona, $0,101 million, in 2022, Sweden's finance ministry said in a statement, adding that it sees a continuing need to support Ukraine. Sweden in February said it was sending body armor, helmets and 5,000 anti-tank weapons to Ukraine, and 1 month later said it would send an additional 5,000 anti-tank weapons. Putin to meet with African Union leader to discuss releasing blockaded grain supplies from Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with African Union leader and Senegalese President Macky Sall on Friday to discuss unblocking grain and wheat stocks that have been frozen by Russia's war in Ukraine. The meeting, which will be held in the southern Russian city of Sochi, is aimed at freeing up stocks of cereals and fertilizers, the blockage of which particularly affects African countries, as well as easing the conflict in Ukraine. A statement from Sall's Putin has been accused of weaponizing food and hunger, as his forces have now for months blocked vital ports and attacked agricultural logistics hubs in Ukraine, which is a major exporter of much of the world's. Together, Russia and Ukraine provide more than a quarter of the world's cereals, as well as other important cooking staples like sunflower oil. The disruption to agricultural exports has sent food prices soaring, particularly for African and Middle Eastern countries that rely heavily on imports from Russia and Ukraine. Angela Merkel calls Russia's war barbaric in first speech since leaving office. Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel harshly condemned Russia's war in Ukraine in her first public speech since leaving office in December. Merkel described Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a barbaric war of aggression which constituted a far-reaching turning point and the most glaring breach of international law in Europe since World War II. My solidarity goes out to Ukraine, which has been attacked and raided by Russia, the former leader said at a German trade union event in Berlin on Wednesday night, adding that Ukraine's right to self-defense was it. Merkel, who led Germany for 16 years, has come under heavy scrutiny in the last few months for her history of friendly relations with Russian President Vladimir Putin and track record of expanding economic ties between Russia. Many criticize her for making Germany more reliant on Russian energy imports, particularly with the establishment of the first Nord Stream gas pipeline between the two countries. She also drove the development of the now defunct Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which her predecessor Olaf Scholz suspended just before Russia invaded Ukraine.